Generation X. In general terms, those born between 1965 and 1980. Latchkey kids. Independent. Existentialism. Modern philosophy focusing on personal experience, human ability, and responsibility in an otherwise meaningless universe. We're the cause. This is the effect. We're the Gen X Existentialists. This is the Gen X Existentialist podcast. My name is Scott.
And I'm Bunny.
And we're here with you for the next 20 minutes to a half hour to 5 hours. Who knows? We just kind of start rambling, and wherever it ends up, that's where it ends up. This is a show where we pick topics at random from Mega Wheel the Magnificent, and we roll on and talk about those in an extemporaneous fashion. And we've got a special guest with us here today. This week, Cory Simmins is joining us. Cory, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm shocked that I was allowed back, so I was pretty excited.
Well, we've actually got him shackled to the chair. We're not letting him go until we're ready for it. So, you're in with us again, and I'll go ahead and give Mega Wheel a spin and let it spin. We've got over 500 topics on that wheel, and as soon as something comes up, I will ask the question to Bunny. And this is the best part of the show because I get the questions, I get to look at them. And Cory, you can see how focused he is. He's leaning on the microphone, shaking his head like, what kind of torture is this going to be?
Hit me, baby.
And it's not really torture. It's actually a pretty easy question.
Oh, great.
Bunny, have you ever been on TV?
Yes.
Yay, we're done.
Yeah, that's next.
Cory, have you ever been on TV?
Oh, you mean like... where I was supposed to be on TV or running behind the camera when at a sporting event?
Yes, both.
Or streaking across the field.
Especially that, but yeah,
I've
all of the above.
Dreamt about streaking across the field. And I often watch those videos where people are going across the field and get tackled.
The tackles are the best.
That's really what keeps me from doing it, because when you're built like me, you don't want to be tackled by those guys. They look very healthy and like they want to hurt me. And so... that usually keeps me from doing it, but I've never been on television. I've been on in news things in the background. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I just had it, but this is why I was always worried about being on this show, is that I wouldn't think of something. But this is a little embarrassing. When I used to be a firefighter, I was on a fire department that let me on. And I didn't hurt anybody or myself, so that's good. And I got out before I killed myself. But there was an incident where someone tragically tried to end their life by putting their car on the railroad tracks.
Oh, God.
But it was a 77 Oldsmobile. It was the same car as myself.
Nice.
And it took the train. Like it hit, and it didn't kill the man, which is good. But I was there to get the guy out.
Yeah.
Well, the real firemen were getting the guy out, right? And I'm laying back, because I was like 18 years old, and I was hoping like girls were coming around, you could see me in my fire uniform, because I thought I was, looked like, hot or whatever. But anyway, no girls were there. But here comes the news cycle, right? The cars, the trucks come up, they got the cameras out, and I saw my chance for glory. And I kid you not. They pulled this man out. I feel terrible for telling the story. I feel awful, but he survived. They pull this guy out. I run and bump the guy off that's front and told him the captain needs you. It's important. And I carried the front on the side of the camera so I could be seen pulling this guy out of this wreckage. It's terrible. I'm a terrible person.
It's wonderful.
I feel horrible. It didn't happen this century, so I feel a little better. But
that's fantastic.
I was on TV. People said, they called. They said, "We saw you." I'm like, "I rescued that guy." I was me. I was there. And he was driving my car. So
did you get any dates out of it?
No. I struggle with attention from the ladies. Always have. It's always been a problem. So, but yeah, that was my claim to fame. So there's a lot of stories from my firefighting days that are shameful, very shameful. So I can't wait to hear Bunny's tales on TV. So I'm sure they're great.
Yes, Bunny.
I was going to pass it back to you because I think most people who know me know that I've been on TV a few times. So.
Well, I mean, times I've been on TV were obviously as part of what you did with Meat Cleaver Theater. But probably the high point aside from that was everybody knows who the Cool Ghoul was, right? Gentleman's name is Dick Von Hain. For a number of years, he hosted a show called Northern Kentucky Magazine.
Oh, that's right.
On the local cable station. And when I put out my second or third poetry collection, I got to go down and did an interview with him on the show. I didn't get just one segment. I got 2 segments with him.
Nice.
And it was really cool because he had obviously read the book based on the questions that he asked about specific things. Either that or somebody just fed him really in-depth questions. So that was fantastic. And the dude was just the nicest guy that you would ever want to meet. Just fantastic. Got an autograph. He totally owned the Cool Ghoul thing too. He loved doing that, and he loved the whole thing. So yeah, I got an autograph from him, Dick Von Hain, the Cool Ghoul, and just it was a fantastic experience. It was the kind of thing that If you do something like that, it was everything I hoped it would be. So it was fantastic.
Yeah, that is one of the times I was on television, but I actually choked up on television was when I got to induct him into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. Yeah. Which is great. I had a hard time keeping my peepers dry on that one because he had passed by that point in time. Right. So,
and he was especially
he's a nice guy.
Doing the horror hosting stuff, a huge influence. And just here in the area, even today, you say the Cool Ghoul. Most of the people that are around you, unless they're like real little kids or real young folks, are going to have at least an idea or they're going to know who you're talking about. And that kind of legacy is just fantastic.
Now, on the flip side, I'll posit this question to the group. Have you been in the newspaper before? This is one area where I might as well not exist. I've never appeared in the newspaper other than by name, of course, for birth announcements or something goofy like that. But I've never appeared photographically in a newspaper. How about you guys?
The Northerner at NKU, for some reason, one of the people on the newspaper staff, it was the next to last semester there, knew that or somehow heard that I was in a band, and obviously I was at the time. I was in Feel and Crystal, and thought it would be interesting to do a story. So yes, there's an issue of the Northerner from like 1994 or 5. Then there's an article in there with me, and for some reason, I'm playing guitar in the picture. For some reason, I took a guitar with me instead of a bass. My main instrument is bass, so it even now looking back, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I was.
I'm like the Brad Pitt of the newspaper. Like I've been in it quite often. I guess I'm famous. I'm feeling pretty good. I can think of 2 actually. Actually, that's all it is, 2. So. Brad Pitt's the first guy I could think of. But and when I was student teaching at Silver Grove, I was they didn't have anybody to coach the baseball team, so I volunteered for $450 to coach varsity baseball, which is astounding since I never played baseball. So, and we won a game that year, and it was cool. What a proud moment. But I got interviewed by the newspaper because I called in the score. Anyway, in talking to the reporter. He asked me some questions and found out I was student teaching and coaching and working.
Yeah.
And so he did a little article on the sports page called Simmons Does It All. And
nice.
It was just like a little, blurb. Actually, when I tried to get a teaching job, I carried that sucker around with me in my little portfolio, and then when we started putting technology in the classrooms, the Journal of Hamilton and the Hamilton Journal and that up there in Ohio, they wanted to do an interview of me because I was allowing kids to use phones and computers in class. This is 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And they did a big article on my story. I got my picture in there, teaching, action shot, looking
Nice.
for buff and a bow tie and everything else. And it was a big article on technology, which was fun. And then I was in USA Today, but this is the oddest story. It was on teacher pay across the country.
Yeah.
And I think it was USA Today, or it was the Dayton Daily News. It was one of the, but because my picture was taken, I guess I gave up the rights to it or whatever. So it's became like a stock photo. And so people were sending me stuff on like Facebook, like, did you see that you were in? And I can't remember, it was like an online publication, but there I was that same picture that's hanging on my wall in my classroom. And I'm like, that's weird, but awesome, but yeah, so I've three times.
At some point during that time, you signed a piece of paper that just gave the rights away.
I guess, because someone told me, it was the journalism teacher. He's like, oh, it's a stock image. They searched, and they must have searched
teacher in classroom.
I hope it was like intelligent looking teacher in classroom or something like that. But
bow-tied teacher.
And there it was, so it's still hanging in my room. But yeah, the newspaper I've been in, so it kind of makes you feel special.
Very cool. Very cool.
So I will say I was in the Northerner as well. I completely forgot about that.
Awesome.
It was a student newspaper, so I didn't really count it. But
it counts. Everything counts.
There's a color photo of me at the DJ booth at the college radio station wearing a Little Kings work shirt with Bunny scrawled in Sharpie on the lapel, because I'm classy like that. That's how I'll be remembered, as the idiot with the Little Kings jacket or whatever. So. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. So I'm going to give Mega Wheel of Magnificent another spin here. And as we spin and spin, again, with over 500 topics, folks, it sometimes takes a minute to wind down. And we have our topic. This is, again, one that I think we didn't remove when we should have. What motivates you to work hard at what you do? It sounds like something we've done before. We'll give her another spin.
So while we're spinning, for some reason, I seem to recall a newspaper photo of you as a child with Pac-Man and a ghost. Was I just hallucinating that?
No, that wasn't a newspaper photo. That was just
a photo.
An Instamatic, like a Kodak photo. And what it is, me and my parents had gone to Van Loonen's. I was probably second, third grade at the time, before we knew each other. And I was resplendent in a pair of brown corduroys and a green shirt with MASH 4077th on it and a picture of the helicopter. And they just happened to have the red ghost from Pac-Man there, some guy in a suit, and free photos. So I got my picture taken with him. At the time, I didn't know what the hell it was. It looked interesting. And so if my mom can find the photo, I'm sure she's got it somewhere. It's just me with my hands in my pockets scowling, and this guy in a red Pac-Man ghost outfit just going, jazz hands behind me. So, yes, that does exist.
All right.
But it wasn't, unfortunately, alas, it was not in a newspaper.
Okay.
It should have been, by God.
Sure.
Should have been the cover of an album or something. So, our topic that we spun for, what gives you hope?
What gives me hope?
Yes.
As the fact that time does exist. Time both horrifies me and delights me. I was going to say, you saying that time gives you hope was completely just other side of the world from where... It's a weird... It's a little bit of a duality, and here's why. It's because while time steals some of the best things from you in life, time also ensures that whatever bad time you're going through is going to end eventually. So if you are in a tough spot, or if you feel like things are not going your way, or that things are just super shit-tastic right now, one of the easiest ways to gain hope is just to put your head down and just plow forward. Time will carry you. Time is that wind that pushes your sails out of the doldrums, whether you like it or not. Now, it's going to push you away from fun times, too.
Yeah.
Because all things end, and time will always win out. But it's also something that's going to get you through whatever rough patch you're going through currently.
Yeah. And by the way, shit-tastic, copyright 2024, Gen X Existentialists. Cory, what gives you hope? Sorry.
How am I supposed to follow that up? This is what I was talking about when I said I was nervous and I was sweating. I mean, Bunny's trying to unravel the depths of the cosmos, and I'm supposed to follow that up with something serious. It's very difficult. Like I had a all right answer. I'm ashamed to say it.
No.
Streaming services offer me hope. Now am I supposed to follow up Bunny?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
It's going to be different for everybody.
All right. Well, I just feel like a dullard over here. Like he's sitting there thinking like, God, this is why philosophy majors and English majors shouldn't hang out. But
I'm both, so I shouldn't even be with myself.
But I will attempt to clarify. I wish I could have answered first, so I didn't look like a bonehead. But I'll give you an example of streaming of hope in the world. Okay, I'm not sure about your, orientation on this because it could be quite political. But the last Star Wars movie was awful, right? It was horrendously bad. In fact, many of the Star Wars movies have been subject to great debates, and then they came out with streaming services, and I watched like The Mandalorian, and I have a friend, God love him, he thinks he's Darth Vader. He has his whole suit.
He is Darth Vader.
He has the whole suit. He's got the thing on his phone. It's weird, but I'm watching like the third episode of The Mandalorian, and I text him. I'm like, these 3 episodes are better than anything that's been done on film, and I'm like, and as I keep watching these streaming shows, and like, was it Andor?
Yeah, Andor's fantastic.
Which is the prequel to
Rogue One,
which might be the greatest Star Wars movie to me. And I'm thinking, we now have a way to really tell stories the way they should be told.
Sure.
Like you can get to know these people. You're not trying to cram like they did in that last movie. Like I was nauseous. Like I had to go get a Benadryl after watching that at the movie theater. And I don't even know what happened. I'm like, and I'm watching Mandalorian. And it's just like I'm just gushing with just interest at the story developing. And the power that was in Andor, and I'm like, we might actually see some good television, some good shows because of streaming, but not quite the Bunny response of time.
But you hit on something that's very important though. Art.
Yeah,
art gives you hope.
See, I couldn't think of that. See, that's where he is. He's so, he's gifted.
But see, it's one of those things, and obviously I have a different opinion on the Star Wars movies than the two gentlemen opposite me here. I understand the issues with the sequels, but I think a lot of that, not necessarily the things you're picking on, but a lot of it for a lot of people comes from they didn't do what I wanted them to do. They didn't follow the storyline from the expanded universe. They didn't do this. And I get that, but the problem is, especially if you've written something, you've written novels, you've created TV shows, written scripts, we've all done that. We don't do things the way other people would want to. Cory, for you, has anybody about either one of your books made the comment, well, I think you should have done this?
Well, most of the people that have read my books have been either family members, former students, and they've been pretty gracious. I think the biggest thing I ever got was a batch of kids that wanted me to write a sequel when I didn't want to, so I wrote one. But I haven't had that. I guess I haven't. And honestly, one of my biggest fears when I see like because of social media, the amount of hate people spew on people's creations.
Yeah.
I decided I really don't want to be famous anymore. I just want to be a no one.
Right. That's the whole thing. I feel like there are certain words and phrases when somebody puts a post up about Star Wars that just immediately make me go, nope, I'm scrolling past because I know what they're going to say. The thing about it is most of the critiques of the sequels can also be made about the original trilogy, can also be made about the prequels. if you don't pay attention to like who created it, what they're trying to tell as the story, the stuff is there. We've just got a whole lot of Now, what you brought up with the streaming stuff, if you take those sequel movies, take like The Force Awakens, break that 2.5-hour film down into a 13 or 20 episode streaming series, and you give a lot of the detail that every movie that's ever been made leaves out because they don't have time, is that going to be a much better, more fleshed out story? Absolutely. So I completely get that.
Well, like, I just was, some of those movies, they just tried to put too much in there, and I understand they're, and I reminded of a meme that I saw. I wish I could quote it verbatim, but it basically was Star Trek people mocking Star Wars, and it said something to the effect of, "We've got 9 movies and we love them all," or that was the gist of it, And I just, I felt like they tried to do so much, and it fell. And that's not the only thing. I knew you were a fan of Star Wars, so that's why I brought that up. But just some of the other shows, just that. Oh,
absolutely, absolutely. And I won't deny, like, I've got critiques of all of the Star Wars movies. My biggest critique in the sequels is how Luke Skywalker was portrayed. But part of that is, and it was bad storytelling, there wasn't enough background on why. It's like anything else in the world. If you can't answer the question why, it's like doing an incident investigation. Somebody has some incident at work. You keep asking why until you get down to the root cause. We never really got that. We got some flashbacks, and that's why if I've got a problem with the sequels, it's Rian Johnson, not necessarily the film or the script, but the overall storytelling didn't give what the average listener wants. Me, as a Star Wars aficionado, I'm going to go read the novelization. I'm going to read the comic books. Some of the best comics being made today are the ones in the Star Wars various series. And it's not fair that different background information is given in those things that you didn't know before, but that's the way it is, and you got to be able to accept it's a 2.5-hour movie. There's going to be a lot of suspension of disbelief. There's going to be a lot of stuff that you don't know the background on, like the whole thing, Palpatine being a clone, blah, 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 was never, it was, there were references to that being, kind of a contingency plan going all the way back. So, yeah. So, Bunny, you go ahead, hit me. And this will be the final comment for this episode.
We got to get what gives you hope before we get out of here. But
Star
I will
Wars.
say the biggest thing for me is they had everything in their pocket to give people what they wanted. It doesn't have to be their stories. Rian Johnson can go eat a dick. I'm just going to say it out loud. Not a fan of this little jerk. Not a big J.J. Abrams fan either, to be honest.
Agreed.
But here's the thing. You had all of the original actors alive and healthy at the time of making these films. All they could have done, they just had to have them all together in one scene. That's all people wanted. And then they could go off and do their Rey and whatever story for the next 3 episodes. That's all they needed to do. And they deliberately milked it and fucked around, and they didn't do their job. And that's all they had to do was a little bit of fan service. That's all people wanted. And they would have been satisfied, and they could have had a whole new trilogy with all new people, and the rest of the old people could die and get sick and fuck off.
Yeah, and that's, I think if ultimately there was a failing, it was in who they gave the story to.
Yeah.
Even if it's going to be the same story, we're going to focus on Rey, Finn, Poe, the new
fine.
stuff.
I'm not a huge fan of any of them, but
I think there are better ways to do it. I think the characters themselves were really good as they got fleshed out as things went along. I thought they were good. The whole critique of, Rey's a Mary Sue because you shouldn't be able to learn that stuff that quick. Go back and watch
No, but
Star Wars
she's a bit
and
of
The
a plank
Empire
of
Strikes
wood,
Back.
I think is the biggest argument.
She's what?
She was a bit of a plank of wood.
Oh, for God's sake, that's
That's my opinion.
That's just silly. She's not a Mary Sue. She came along just as quickly as Luke did, and had basically the same or similar background. I don't get all those weird critiques like that. But
I think it's the storytelling. They didn't tell how she was trained by Luke, if she was trained by Luke on this island. They didn't go into it. They showed like 2 little sections of it, and then they compressed the second movie and the third movie into like the same day or whatever, or like a day later. So there's a time progression in the original trilogy.
There was a huge time progression between
the first one and the second one.
No, between The Last Jedi and
really?
The Rise of Skywalker.
I'm
absolutely
surprised.
Because that's where Rey is training with Leia.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know what happened in those movies. I'm like Cory on this one, where the third movie came out and I don't even remember what I watched. I knew there was some chick in a gold helmet for some reason running around, and I don't remember why she was there or anything, but my wife thought her outfit was cool. That's pretty much
Captain Phasma.
Well, it was some bounty hunter chick or something on a planet. Remember, she had a gold sleek helmet and a
Zori Bliss.
Yeah, nobody knows who that is. Do you know who Zori Bliss is?
Yeah, Zori Bliss, played by Kerry Russell, who is hot.
All right.
So what gives me hope? Star Wars, music, creation.
So how does Star Wars give you hope? This is my question for you.
Because I enjoy the stories so much. And I understand the original movies, it made for kids, but the best stories, like the stuff you remember, the bedtime stories and things like that as a kid, the things that teach you things that you don't even realize you're learning. Mm-hmm. That's where Star Wars fits with me. Okay. And it's like we compare each other every once in a while. You lean toward the Sith side, I lean toward the Jedi side. It's more of a thing
as a realistic side.
It led me toward Stoicism. It led me toward Buddhism, because the Jedi way has a lot to do with both. Okay. And especially for me, I've got a temper, but those quote unquote Jedi lessons have helped me.
Okay.
It's in my DNA. It's inscribed on my skin. When I need something to just like get me through, a lot of people just turn on the TV and just whatever comes up. I go to one of the shows. I put one of the movies on, just because it restores my faith that we can be better. Even when things are against us, we can make things better. Keep fighting.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. That's what gives me hope. And this has been the Gen X Existentialists. My name's Scott.
I'm Bunny.
And over there is
Cory.
We appreciate you joining us. We always have a good time talking to you. That's it for this time. We'll catch you next time. Have a good one.